Hey, it's This Epic Disaster. We are here in kind of a little bit of a Halloween environment.
But it's a little toasty. It's
well,
supposedly fall.
Just think of it this way, like we're inside a pumpkin.
That's disgusting.
I know. Well, we've got our little flame light glowing, and I think between now and Halloween we should have this every show. I like it, and it kind of gives a nice little spooky feeling.
But it makes me want it to be cold. Because it's not cold. It's 90 some odd fucking degrees right now.
That's something I cannot control, but I would suggest that you get an icy beer. But you know what?
What?
Before you get an icy beer...
I have 3 of them here today.
Why 3? I don't understand.
Because we have a guest with us.
What? A guest? We never have a guest.
And he's a listener that we've talked about before on the podcast.
I think now that we have a guest, this is the first time we've actually surpassed the listeners with guests.
I think you're right.
We have more guests than listeners.
Everyone who has ever listened to this podcast has now been a guest.
Why don't you introduce our guest?
We have Jax here.
Uh-huh.
Was it Jax or AJ? Which one did we decide?
I mean, we went with Jax, but, AJ gets thrown around enough times that it's like, oh, yeah, he has a nickname. It's like, yeah, well,
sorry.
It's either one. I answer to both.
Okay, so we have Aaron here with us, and he is joining us tonight because he's going to have a beer.
He's going to have a beer, and he'll play Would You Rather, but we should explain, because we've kind of talked about him in the past few episodes.
We have, and the beer part is very important.
He's the guy that kind of put together our little database of, I had to go back through 80, let's say 80-something episodes.
It was 87, 88, something like that at the time.
Plus 80 episodes of Life in a Kill podcast. So I don't know what you're looking for.
He spilled.
Oh.
Because he doesn't know how to pour a fucking beer.
Because I don't usually pour a beer
either.
just to piss off Doug. I would just drink it out of the bottle.
See, it's just the room. It's the room.
It's not. I don't do that.
You don't do a lot of stuff.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying you're a unique individual.
That's one way of putting it.
That's one way of putting it.
That's a compliment. All right, so
so
let's dig into this beer. What are we drinking today on this show?
We are drinking Brewers Bridge. It's a Saison ale, and it is called Brewers Bridge because it is a collaboration between 2 different brewers. Mm-hmm. You've got Allagash Brewing, which I really like, and who's the other one? I can't read that.
DuPont.
Okay, it says breast. I don't know.
Don't they make chemicals?
Wrong DuPont.
Oh, sorry.
Could be the same family, though.
Fiberglass.
I mean, possibly the same, overarching family. But
right,
hey.
right. They're trying.
DuPont.
I wonder.
I like to call it DuPont. DuPont. Isn't that the French pronunciation?
Only in your head.
I don't know. Speaking of head, I don't know that I can drink my beer for a while.
We all got a lot of head today.
I think this beer's warm.
Well, it just came out of the freezer.
All right, so this is a very kind of a goldenish beer.
Yes.
And looks like it's got a lot of sizzle. See, look, a lot of
sizzle.
You
call that sizzle?
Bubbles.
That's
a lot
carbonation.
Of
well, I mean, carbonation is kind of a sizzle. I mean, if you
sizzle.
really think about it.
Sizzle.
Sizzly kind of beer. We have a sizzly beer. It smells very much like
head.
Beer.
It smells like
a beer. So you remember the back in, I guess, the silent films, they would always go to the bar and then they would the bartender would pour them a beer and it'd have this huge head and they would always pick it up and blow on it and blow the head off.
Yes.
Sometimes I want to do that.
There's a dirty joke in there somewhere.
But we're not going to do it. Sometimes I just want to pick up my beer
and blow its head
off.
Blow
the head towards you.
No, don't do that, please. I fucking hate you right now.
I did
it.
And you got our guest.
I've never done it. Our guest got to experience the first time. That's on your mic a little bit and on your boobs. All right, I'm going to try mine. Did you try yours?
This is new shirt. I haven't tried it yet. Okay, sorry, guys. We're kind of going off on a rant here because Rick is being a child. So,
I blew some
well,
head.
Do you really expect anything different from a podcast called This Epic Disaster? Like,
no,
come on.
No, not at all. Not at all. You got all my papers wet.
Okay.
All right. So have you tried it yet or can you?
Oh, I mean, I can, and
okay.
I have.
We're going to try it.
It tastes like pennies.
Rick says it tastes like pennies. I assume he means the coin and not the department store.
No, I've never tasted the department. Not that I probably did, though, actually.
You never licked the floor of JCPenney's?
I mean,
that depends on what section of the shop you're in.
Right.
Because if you're in the perfume and makeup, it's going to taste different than you're over in, like, the purses and leather.
You are correct.
We will.
That's a good point.
What we'll do
You
is
just made a very good
we will sip on this beer throughout the whole podcast, and at the end, we'll all talk about what we think of it.
Because that's what we do when we have a live beer review.
That is the live beer review. So what do we do now? Should we?
We're going to play a game really quick.
Are we going to go ahead and do the game?
Yes,
Do
but
the
I'm
game?
going to tell you after we play our game why we have Aaron here.
Okay.
It's not just about the beer.
No.
He has other things that he can do too.
He actually is here to kind of kick off Halloween celebration for us.
He's going to help us do that.
That's right.
Yes.
That's why I have the little Halloween light going to kind of get the mood.
Is that a theme?
I
Is that
think-
your theme
yeah,
for
if
the
you're,
night?
If you're listening at home, get you some ambient lighting going. Get you some Halloween lighting.
Because you're gonna want that while we have this podcast going on. So again, this is Brewers Bridge that we're drinking. It's 6.1% alcohol, so expect Rick to get drunk, and we will go from there.
You're gonna do.
We're gonna play a game first.
Let the guest toss the first stone.
All right, let's let the guest play first, and I will read his question.
This is Would You Rather, the game of Would You Rather. If you don't know anything about this game, we play it every podcast almost. We drop a color stone. Whatever color stone you drop is the one that
he
determines.
got yellow.
What a question.
My D&D instincts kicked in. I just wanted to roll all of them.
I almost do that a lot. Yeah, he was like, "Oh wait, just one."
This question's going to be about dogs.
You're not psychic.
I
Rick.
already know.
I think that's going to have to be my next database. How many times has Rich said what color he's done, and how wrong has he been?
I think that's a great idea. Let's get that database going.
I haven't been wrong that many
All right,
times.
so the yellow is what he threw. The yellow category is random, and his random would you rather question is would you rather be a famous musician who goes deaf
Yeah.
or.
Deaf as a dog. See what I'm trying to say? Has to do with dogs. I told you.
That has nothing to do with dogs.
So would I rather
Go
be
ahead.
Beethoven?
Right. Or a painter that goes blind. Which would you rather be? A musician that goes deaf? No, deaf. Or, or a painter that goes blind. These are your options. You have no other choices.
I have no other choice, but it doesn't specify the type of blind, unless it's specifically saying I'm completely blind. It doesn't say necessarily if I'm just colorblind for a certain degree.
That's
so I
true.
could still get away with that.
Yeah.
And depending on the medium I pick for an actual like painter, I could easily just be a digital artist that tells me the like the hexadecimal numbering of the color,
And then you don't
and then
have
I could
to
just
see
go
it.
it that way because there's this one really famous or pretty well known virally artist who does like all of his stuff in Excel spreadsheet.
Nice.
Yes, so I think I would probably go with the artist because they're based on the question. It doesn't say I'm completely blind, so I could just be colorblind to a certain degree, and I could kind of cheat the system that way.
You could game that system that way if you wanted to. I think I would choose to go deaf as a musician.
I would quit. Both. I mean, why
he's got a
do it
point.
anymore?
Why
Just
do it
stop.
anymore? Find something else
The
to
difficult
do.
thing, yeah, if you were successful, then retire. It's time to
Right.
retire.
Right.
If you weren't, I mean, just hang it up. Get into something else. Here's the thing. If each one of those people could meet the other and just switch jobs.
Just
That's
do it.
all you got to
Just
do.
switch jobs. Yeah. So, like, if I were a painter or something and I went blind, I could just become a sculptor.
Yeah.
Or if I were a musician and I went deaf, I could still, utilize vibration. Mm-hmm. I could listen to stuff I'd done in the past, feel
Right.
that vibration, and try and emulate it.
Feel the
Somehow.
vibration. Wah.
Now we're gonna have to pay royalties.
Marky
Because
Mark.
that was very close.
Well,
to him.
okay, because I'm a visual artist, and I
Yes.
think if my visual was gone, I don't see any way or reason that I could do it. I just, unless I could see a little bit, unless I was if I was a sculptor,
Right.
Okay,
Well, you are a sculptor.
not as much, but
Right.
then if something that you could touch and feel, that would be one thing. But I think if you're a musician, at least you got that vibration.
But here's the cool thing about becoming a sculptor.
Feel it.
Stop it with the marky mark. So here's the cool thing about becoming a sculptor,
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to, is so you know how you have to have reference photos?
Yeah,
You would have to feel the things that you want to sculpt.
I would only sculpt nudes.
I know. Nude males.
Yeah. No. Remember the Lionel Richie video, Hello?
Hello.
The girl that was kind of in love with him, and she sculpted his head.
Yes.
And then everybody was like freaking out because it looked just like him. And if you saw the video, it looked nothing like him.
Nothing like him
Nothing at all.
They
I
didn't
was
even
like,
get a
you
good
must be
sculptor.
blind. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
He went there.
He went there.
I'm just saying.
Okay, it's my turn. New question. Let's get these questions over with.
All right, here we go.
All right, so I'm going to drop a stone.
Green one. I
It's
told
green.
You.
Oh wow, he's right.
All right.
That's once.
I last week you dropped a green one, and I guessed green. All right, so this is ethics and intellect.
Okay.
Would you rather sell James Dean the car which led to his death? That's mean.
They made a lot of money on that.
Or prescribe the pills to Marilyn Monroe, which led to her death.
How do we know those pills were prescribed to her? I think they were given to her by somebody else.
Oh, like
'Cause,
Frank Sinatra
yeah.
or Kennedy or somebody like that.
In cahoots together.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Or like some mad doctor.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. You know what?
I don't know all the
Let's put it this
conspiracy
way.
theories.
Let me just go this route. How much does a car salesman make in a year? And how much does a doctor make in a year?
Well, I see. So you're going to boil it down to money.
And it's all
Which
about
would you rather
me.
do is get the money.
The people
But it-
died of their own accord.
Go on, take the money and run.
Well,
Yeah.
Just take the money and run.
In
There's
some
another
ways,
song.
that's a good way of looking at it because either way, some famous person's going to die.
Right.
And so you might as well get something out of it yourself.
And it's not my fault.
But here's the thing.
What?
If you were the one who prescribed the medication that killed Marilyn Monroe, there's a possibility you could be sued and lose your license. I mean, the doctor that prescribed Michael Jackson's pills went to prison.
Yeah.
And
But he prescribed a bit more than pills.
well, and also some illegal stuff. And so, but I guess what I'm getting at is there's a possibility that you could be investigated and have some. But if you just sold a car, you can't help it that James Dean's going to speed. You
I can't help it that Marilyn Monroe's going to OD.
Not necessarily, but you never know.
Plausible deniability states that basically I tell them that you shouldn't take these in tandem, but I have no control after that.
Yep.
Once you leave the office, it's kind of out of their hands.
Would you rather be the person?
And the doctor in Michael Jackson's case administered the drugs to him. He didn't just give them or prescribe them. He administered the IV drugs.
And these were the drugs like 2-3 years ago when I had a colonoscopy and they put me to sleep. That was that drug.
Yeah.
That Michael Jackson was taking.
Yeah.
He wasn't having a colonoscopy that I know of.
He might have been.
We're not going to get into those.
Maybe that's
rumors.
why the doctor gave him the drugs.
Could be.
Is because he was going to give him his own colonoscopy. We don't know. That's not
we
nice.
go.
Talk about the dead people like
Blue. I feel blue.
that. Are you blue? It's yellow.
Well, see, blue was the next one. That's why I felt it. See, I said I felt blue. I didn't say I was going to drop it. All right, go ahead.
Blue stands for appearance and embarrassment. I
That should
really
be red, really, I
need
think.
some glasses.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you getting to that age?
I'm getting to the point where everything I look at, I need help reading.
Well, those are going to be really strong, so
Oh, wow. I can see.
fine.
It's a miracle.
I mean, literally, I can see. This is awesome. I need glasses.
How old are you?
45.
Okay.
Took me a minute.
I was
Oh no.
I think it was about that age when I realized I had to have glasses.
Yeah, because I'm going to read things, and I'm doing this, and I'm, moving the things forward and back to try and get a
Unfortunate
good...
side effect of staring at a computer screen all day long.
That will do it too, and I do a lot of that. Okay, so your question is: would you rather be a thumb sucker
I was a thumb sucker my whole life.
or a bedwetter for the rest of your life?
Okay. So
You either have to suck your thumb
there,
or wet your bed for the rest of your life.
there was a group of people in my family who were bedwetters.
Okay.
And a group who were thumb suckers. Now, I'm not going to say which was which. I don't
Well,
want
they
to
don't
embarrass
listen
my
anyways.
family.
They
No,
don't listen
I don't think they do.
anyways.
But I will come out and admit I was a thumb sucker, and I think I sucked my thumb even. I know I was in high school at times when I do it. I'm asleep, so I don't know.
You sucked your thumb in high school?
Not during high school.
In class?
We have a test today. Oh my God. Yeah, no, that wasn't me.
I gotta suck my thumb. Where's my blankie?
No, but like my mom would come in at night, to check on the kids.
Yeah.
And would just pull my thumb out, and that would wake me up. So I'd be like, "Oh crap!"
Well, what did she do to the kids who had wet the bed? Just rip the sheet out from under them?
No,
Yes, probably.
Yank.
but most of the
Oh, what'd I do?
of the bedwetters stopped. I mean, they didn't go into high school. I don't think. I mean, that
Maybe
stopped
they
fairly
still
early.
wet the bed, and we
I
just
don't
don't know.
I did too. I wet the bed, but I wasn't in the bed while I wet it.
Huh?
Don't think too hard on that one.
Okay.
No.
I don't want to think about that. Let's.
So I'm going to say thumb sucking because I'm a very oral person, and I'm totally fine with sucking thumbs. And there's a few other things I will suck.
Toes.
Like I told you I wanted a lozenge up here.
Yes.
I need a lozenge right now.
Lozenge, lollipop, sausage.
Tongues. I don't care. I mean,
You're just
Suck down a beer bottle.
You're just a sucker.
well, I mean, I just, I'm usually have gum in my mouth or something like that. I don't know.
Yes.
What does that mean when you're a very oral person? You was like you weren't breastfed. Is that what it was?
No, I wasn't breastfed, and I'm not that oral. I don't have
Okay.
a fixation like you do.
I don't know. There's some kind of thing that's supposed to.
Oh,
it's supposed
there's
to
probably
mean.
something somewhere.
Yeah.
There always
Yeah,
is.
there is.
I don't know.
They're gonna Freud you and tell you why.
Anyway, I'll go with thumb sucking any day.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're gonna suck thumbs. I'm gonna be
Yo, suck my thumb.
suck my thumb.
That's my new thing when I'm mad at somebody.
No,
Yeah.
that won't go over well in traffic.
Suck my thumb, dude.
No.
Yeah.
So you're gonna suck thumbs. What was I gonna do? I'm gonna be
You're gonna be a deaf musician or a blind
that was his
painter.
question.
Huh?
Wasn't that his
I think
question?
it was yours.
Anyways, it's been minutes since then. So let's move on. We have AJ here with Jax here with Aaron is here on the podcast.
So many names.
Man of many names.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Because he has a very interesting seasonal job
Yes.
on top of his normal job.
Well, and we're going to talk about that, but let's talk about the beer thing first. Let's get that out of the way. I just want to, talk about how and why he put that together.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that first.
So, so we kind of put a call out a few weeks ago.
We did.
Because we've been doing these live beer reviews for quite a while, and we haven't been keeping record of them. And so we just kind of threw it out if somebody wanted to do it. And next thing I know, someone did it.
Someone did it like
And-
that.
And he's sitting right here. So first of all, I want to know why. What made you decide you're the one to do it? And second of all, like, what was the process? I mean, did you realize how involved this was going to be? Did you just how long did it take?
It took me over the course of 2 days, mostly at night, because obviously I wasn't going to work on this while I was at work for the most part.
But but basically it was just like, whew, okay, I'm off from work. I guess I better get to that beer database now.
You actually hadn't been, first off, I want to point out, you hadn't been just asking it for the past couple of weeks. You had actually been mentioning it back on Life in a Kilt that you thought it would be nice if someone would do it.
We
so
did, didn't
that was originally my, I should do this. I have a lot of spare time because as Cheri can attest, when I used to actually work with her, I worked the night shift and it got kind of quiet after about 7 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
So I had some free time. I thought on my hands like, I could do this. I never did, but it was always a thought.
So it was always there in the back of
It
your
was always in
mind.
the back of my mind. I also did it partially because I used to make and run the wiki for another podcast that I was involved with until something happened to the site and that we lost it and couldn't do it. So for me, it's nothing I hadn't already done. And it was just kind of I got time to kill. I got nothing else going on my weekend, on my nights, so why not? And the actual process wasn't too heavily involved. The hardest and longest part of it was probably just figuring out the timestamps of when you actually rated the beer, because that's usually near the end of the podcast. But there's how much filler in between the time of, all right, let's wrap this up and rate this podcast, and then but one more thing, and then one more thing. It's like, we can actually get to the numbers here, guys.
We do that a lot.
But that was probably the most time consuming part, was just figuring out, all right, where's the timestamp? Where do I got to go to find the rating? Because usually it's pretty early on in the podcast, or at least for this epic disaster, of this is when you do it. This is the timestamp. They're gonna pick the beer,
right?
And then all right, I can go to a timestamp I think the time's gonna be,
when
if I'm wrong and I have to wait, okay, that gives me plenty of time to go to the Beer Advocate link and link that up in the Google spreadsheet.
And then those crazy moments when you're listening and waiting, and then you find out we didn't rate that one. And
there were
like,
a couple of episodes of that. It's like,
I wasted
did I miss
some
it?
time.
Did I miss it? There were a couple I was like, I missed it. There was nothing there. And then I went back, it's like, oh, no, I just missed it.
Yeah.
But there were a couple I was like, did I miss it? Nope, I've listened to this segment about 3 or 4 times now. They definitely didn't rate
We
this
never
one.
did it.
So what I
Because
want to
we were
do
drunk.
I was looking at them. So what I want to do is some of the ones that we didn't put a number on. I kind of want to go back and do those again.
We could go back and do those.
We might
just
go back.
pull
and
the
do
mulligan.
We should do all of them in one podcast. How many were there,
my
Aaron?
goodness.
Let me pull up the sheet to double
Too
check.
many of them.
No, there's only about, I think, 3, maybe 4.
And there were a couple of them like I would review or I would give a number and you did
And
not.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
Sometimes you refuse, but most of the time it's probably you just forgot. But
I refuse to give a number?
There was a couple of them, like I think the
No, did I ever do that, Aaron?
Bud Light. You were like, I'm not even going to say.
No. For the Bud Light one specifically, she gave it a .005.
Well, for a while
because I was really hoping she would actually just give it a flat out 0. Because quite honestly, I was insanely disappointed you ever actually considered that beer.
Well, I feel like that our job is to just do a variety, and so I feel like every once in a while we just need to get just a regular beer, you know, just because we haven't done too many of those. We've done
think
mostly
there were those that would argue that Bud Light is not just a regular beer; it's below regular beer.
It is far below.
Actually,
regular.
looking at the spreadsheet, there's only one episode in which you both didn't actually rate it. There are several in which Cheri, I couldn't hear it or couldn't find it, a number, and those are actually more so because Rick only has. Double checking. He's only got 2 episodes, and Rick doesn't give a rating. Meanwhile, Cheri has 4 in which she doesn't give a rating, but only one of those episodes that you both didn't give a number, and that was back for the Elysian Brewery, the Great Pumpkin, which I'm not necessarily surprised you didn't give that one a rating because seasonal pumpkin beers are very hit or miss. And
yeah, they can be.
Well,
Here's what I propose. Here's what I propose. Let's do this sometime around the holidays because we'll be drinking a lot anyways.
Okay.
So, I mean, not any different than the summer for me. But so I say that all of the beers that we didn't rate, the person who didn't rate it has to go back and drink it and give it a rating.
Cheri just wants to drink more beer than Rick.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Well, I do feel like we need to fill in the gap. So it's like if you didn't rate one, then you need to do that one, and then if we both didn't,
right.
And then the easiest, actually, it was a lot easier for Life in a Kilt, really, because luckily, as I mentioned, I think in the email, they were all already listed in the description as to what they were.
Right.
The only problem is, obviously, that's no longer a live podcast, and finding the actual audio files is basically impossible. Luckily, Stitcher has like all the actual like episodes and the description, so it was just like, oh, this was it, and just go down the list.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Of
course, we have all of the those episodes, and somewhere I have a database of the beers. I saved that.
Did you?
Before the whole thing went crash.
Yeah. Well,
got rid
these
of it.
things will happen.
Well,
Nobody wants to pay for storage forever, folks.
No.
We've had some requests, but it just weren't enough. So we had to kind of let it go.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of interesting, and I want to say thanks for doing it. It was a labor of love, but it was that was a lot of love.
That's a lot of love.
It took maybe 6 hours total between both the days. I want to say 6 or 8. Maybe.
And he gets a T-shirt out of it.
Yeah. And where is that shirt?
I haven't got it
somewhere
yet.
over the coast of Scotland.
We're infamous for like setting that up and then naming the prizes, and then really really slow for developing, but
Very
delivering.
slow.
We forget. Last year we did the Halloween.
I was just gonna say,
thing.
ask anybody who won something in that Halloween thing. Ask them how long it took to get there.
Wasn't it like April? It was like April of the next year.
was
or something
April.
Like that.
Yeah.
Every month we'd be like, we've got to get those in. And
So they had
So
completely
I'll expect
forgotten
it as
it.
a Christmas present around Christmas time from Cheri. Okay.
Yeah, and some of those were Halloween gifts, and they were discontinued by the time we.
Whoopsie.
Oh, no.
Had to
That's
pick
what we
another
do.
one. Yeah.
All right. Well, and like you said, there's another reason why we have asked Aaron here.
Yes.
And why don't you explain?
This is where the spooky part of the show starts.
I feel like there should be some sound effects going on about
Woo! No, that just sounds like I'm being tickled.
that. You don't want to hear that again, please.
Don't tickle me. Okay, so Aaron, you work a seasonal job on top of your normal job, and you work at.
I work at Netherworld Haunted House
Yay!
in Stone Mountain, Georgia.
I thought it was in Norcross.
No, we used to be in Norcross. I checked on the website, so I don't know where you were seeing that on the website.
Okay.
As far as I could figure, everything has been changed. We did used to be at Norcross. We were at Norcross for about 21 years.
Yeah.
At the old Dawson location off of 85, exit 99 on Jimmy Carter Boulevard.
I loved that location.
A lot of people did. A lot of people hated the location as well for reasons that were actually outside of Netherworld's control.
Right.
Namely, the paying $20 to $25 for parking that Netherworld had absolutely no control of.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that, or some people on the internet, because people on the internet are not always the smartest of people. I'm sorry, people of the internet. They were like, I pay $25 for parking, and then I'm paying for my ticket price on top of this. Like, you're only really paying to Netherworld the ticket cost, because the actual cost of parking is outside of our control. It was outside. It was usually all the other property management companies that had, they had deals with somebody that would come in and charge for parking, and they would get a cut of that. Now at the new location, which is off of West Park Place Boulevard on basically the end of 78, if you're coming off of 285, we have a deal with the Storage Max across from where our new location is, that basically we have all 600 of those parking spots as long as we make sure we clean it at the end of the night.
Nice.
So, yeah. So it's really nice. We have that in our back lot. Some of it's changing up as well, but I think it's mostly for cast that we get to deal with and complain about ourselves.
Yeah, and clean yourself.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's talk about what Netherworld is. So we say a haunted house, but it's more than it's not really a house.
It's a haunted
event.
attraction.
It is a haunted attraction.
And so let's say someone went to Netherworld last year. Does it change every year? Can everybody expect lots of surprises and new stuff this year?
Particularly this year, yeah. One of the biggest things when we moved to the new location is it's a bigger square footage location than the old location. So, and we also own it now. Ben and Billy, the co-owners, actually own the location this year and have since we moved there. So we have more than just the house there. We have the escape rooms that are open year-round. They're not just open in October. They're open year-round. We have 4 of them. We just recently opened up the haunted tiki escape room, as we call it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's also, that we call it Sasquatch. We call it Bog Witch or the Haunted, as well as Van Helsing's Nosferatu. Those are the 4 escape rooms. They're wanting to build more.
Nice.
They're open year-round. You can obviously catch those out on escapethenetherworld.com. But with the new location, we have those, as well as we've recently, if anybody who's local to Atlanta listens, may have seen it in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the zombie laser tag has been brought back as a more permanent attraction. It used to be a kind of one-off thing they would do typically later in the season. But inside,
zombie laser tag.
Yeah, it's a laser tag event. We got to play test it a little bit as the Nether spawn as we are. Rick and Cheri, you can see I'm wearing my Fright Crew shirt.
Yeah.
The guys that work it, we get one every year.
Nice.
Which is I don't know if we can't really take a picture of it because we don't own the rights to the design
to the art. Yeah.
But it is the Kiss record, Rock and Roll Over, Kiss album. That's how old I am.
I'm so surprised you remember the name of that album.
Yeah. And so it's kind of a takeoff on that design.
Yeah.
And instead of the 4 members of Kiss, you have
ghouls and things.
Yeah.
We have the Collector, the Mangler, our well-known, I believe that is the Gargoyle, and then I think this one's just a regular Hellspawn on the shirt. But we get a new shirt every year when we work there as the Fright Crew shirts, and it's really fun. It's one of the incentives for us working there and basically putting our bodies and everything through essentially hell and back.
And how many years have you worked there?
This will be my 4th year. Next year I get my Elder badge.
Oh, wow.
As the 5th year. One of the things that you get for working it is at the end of the year we have our wrap party, usually at a venue that caters, and we basically take over the place essentially because there's so many of us.
Right.
We can get to that in a little bit. But we typically get, as long as we work so many nights, we get our order of whatever patch. Usually, if you're working the upstairs haunt or the downstairs haunt, you'll get one for that. If you're on the build crew, you'll get one for that. I get one for what I work. I work in operations, and we can go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But back to the original question of does it change every year? We do change up the houses every year. The houses there is some stuff that's mainstay stuff that's really difficult to ever get rid of because of just how big it is. Like everyone's love-hate favorite Vortex Tunnel.
Yes.
That people love it and hate it at the same time.
I do too. Love and hate it.
Because
you'll vomit. You would vomit.
For those that haven't been through the house, the Vortex Tunnel is essentially a tube, a spiraling tube with lights, and you are walking across the bridge across it. And because of the spinning lights, you get disoriented.
Yeah.
That's half the point of the house, is to
Right.
disorient you, to keep you, seeing what's next.
Just day-to-day life disorients me.
That's true, too.
I don't need a haunted house for that.
No,
Vortex Tunnel.
that typically stays the same. A lot of our stunt crew locations stay the same because it's difficult to re-rig the cabling for where they go from. But the actual story of each house changes every year. There's
Is it like a theme? Do you have like a
yeah,
theme
there's a theme. The themes this year is for the upstairs larger haunt, as we call it. And the reason I say upstairs and downstairs is at the old location, they were literally upstairs and downstairs in the building.
Yeah.
Now with the new single story, if anybody's been to it, it's just one giant building. But we still refer to them as upstairs and downstairs just because it's stuck. There is this year the Night of the Gorgon as our main attraction. And then our second one is still keeping it in line with the sci-fi horror theme in the vaults as Cold Blooded.
Nice.
So you can read more about them, each one on the website, fearworld.com. I'm going to refer to websites because there's probably more than I could ever talk about in this podcast on the websites.
Of course.
But the Gorgon story revolves kind of around the current groups that were brought in last year, the Brotherhood of Rom. The Collector's still around. We will always have the Collector. He's the mainstay marketing icon that you see on all the billboards across Atlanta.
Yep.
And that battle going on between all those different various groups in the town of Weisberg. But the Gorgon specifically is kind of the main theme that they're trying to get the power from and draw from this year. And then in the other house, which is still in the black box, the vaults as we call it.
Yep.
This year it's looking into the experiments into reptilian and human DNA mixture.
Oh, wow.
So
Yes!
that's why it's called Cold Blooded. You can get the full rundown on the website. There's all of it there. You can see past years' houses as well. So Ben and Billy definitely do. Mainly Ben. Ben is definitely the creative mind behind it all. Come up, he's already thinking about next year's themes. I can guarantee you that right now.
Of course.
But we always have, we change up the themes. We change up what the main costumes you're going to kind of see. But obviously we keep some of those mainstay themes that people love to see. Some of the stunt guys, and then the stuff, as Cheri mentioned on the last podcast, the midway section that we have, that kind of stays mostly the same because that's kind of the photo op area. And
Yeah.
everything.
Are there people in haunted attraction industry that have a reputation so you mean like, man, John is the best chainsaw man. I mean, best in the nation.
Like his name.
Yeah, they're like people who have they specialize in something and they're almost like a celebrity.
There are, or there's people that really make a name for themselves. I think his name was. He was one of our guest sliders last year, and what I mean by that is there is a certain position outside of the house in which we have special gloves and as well as knee pads and material on the boots, and they're the guys that will run up and slide towards patrons that create that spark, that the sparkers, and he goes around and guests at several houses, in the southeast, southwest. I think his name was I want to say it was like either Poco or Poco, something that the clown
Yeah.
But there there's people that that mainly within the industry it's the house, the people work in the house. So Netherworld is now in its 23rd year.
Oh wow!
We're well known. The haunted asylum in New Orleans. They're really well known. 13 Stories is making its name down in Noonan. So you kind of know the house more than individual people.
Okay.
But there are certain people that go around and they guest. They guest at places.
Cheri and I do go to a lot of Ren fairs, and I've been to several where you see the same character. It's the exact same person who
Right.
goes from Ren fair to fair, and they play the same character
Yeah.
at different Ren fairs. and you see their photo, and then they become like a famous character at these Ren fairs.
There's one in particular is Tangle. She plays a fairy, and she goes around to a lot of Ren fairs. But here's the thing: Ren fairs, like Georgia's Ren fair, is from middle of April to the first weekend in June.
Right.
And then Texas's Ren fair goes until Christmas.
Yeah.
So they're not going on at the same time. Whereas haunted houses, especially, they're seasonal.
But I just wonder if there was if we just
'Cause you can't be in two places at once.
that skeleton guy, we have to get him in our haunted house this year. If there's like a bid for that, or if it's just just that you keep your own crew and you just develop your own people.
It'll depend from house to house. A lot of the times it's you keep your own crew because, again, it's we're seasonal. Of the 300 to 400 cast members that work a year at Netherworld, 95% of them to 99% of them are seasonal.
Yeah.
We come in October, we work October, we beat ourselves up in October, and then we go back to our regular life.
And then you go home.
And then there's maybe 24, 30 people that are there full time that then work on the build for next year, or they work on the costumes or the maintaining everything for next year. There are a couple of people that I'm in the haunted house industry, or I usually work at like this haunted house. I want to come and guest at your place, and we get a bit of that. We get a one or two night, maybe a weekend or two guests that comes and they guest, and then they go back to their regular haunt,
Sure.
or they've taken a couple of weeks and they're wanting to guest across the place.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's really, this is your crew.
Yeah.
This is this is your family for the month, and we work like that.
Do you have are there specific goals that you have in the industry? For instance, it's maybe making somebody cry. It's like, yeah, we did it. So you made someone cry, you make them shit their pants. It's like there's like a hierarchy of goals
in the entire industry.
Yeah, just like
your ranking. Like,
like,
what's your ranking? Have you ever made somebody shit?
I made somebody cry, and then it's like, yeah, well, last night somebody shit the pants.
We usually don't want that.
Dang.
We usually don't want number 2 going on. It's a fun biohazard cleanup.
Yeah.
But
I can imagine.
There are definitely people I work with that I know that they set a goal for the night that they're going to find that one guy in the group that's
Screams
quote,
like a girl.
They're going to find the one guy that's like, oh, I'm not scared, and then scare the crap out of him.
But that's like a personal goal.
That's a personal thing.
Right.
There are some people, we collect stories. We always have that story about this, this one patron this one time I had come through, and I did this to him. It's like, oh,
Sure.
that reminds me of this guy. Unfortunately, where I work, those aren't the fun stories. You don't want to hear those stories, but it's usually so you remember last night when we had so-and-so come through drunk as a skunk?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we got a guy to beat him tonight.
Yeah.
But just try not to make them vomit.
Right.
Try not to have that biohazard. We have that biohazard. It varies from person to person and house to house, because Netherworld is very. I've noticed it's really special compared to other places. My boss at my current job used to work at a haunted house in Texas, and I looked up their website, and you'll notice that all the websites for haunted houses look very similar because we all use the same web developer company, weirdly enough, that uses WordPress. And their houses, you can look up like Hell Trail out in western Georgia, or 13 stories, or Hell's Gate. You'll notice that they're open maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mm-hmm. Nothing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
Maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Nothing after that. Netherworld, at least in my digging, I'm sure there are other houses that do this, that we're special in the fact that we open up our opening weekend this weekend. We take a couple of days off for orientation, monster school for the new hires. Mm-hmm. And then we go for the entire month of October.
Right.
We go every frickin' night.
Every night.
Every night. We go Sunday through Saturday, repeat. Sunday through Saturday for a whole month. Mm-hmm. And not a lot of houses do that, or at least not a lot of houses that I've looked for have done that.
And that's just, how many hours are you open?
It depends on the night. Sunday through Thursday, we are open about, I have to show up at like 6:30, but the house typically opens about 7 o'clock, goes till about, the listed hours are 7 to 11, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. However, the question I get asked a lot is like, oh, does that mean I'm not going to get to go through a house after 11 o'clock? No, we just shut down box office. We stop selling tickets. Mm-hmm. If you're in line, you go through.
You gotta go through.
So, Friday and Saturday, we start 7 o'clock. We go till midnight. That's when box office closes. People that are still in line still go through. So early in the season, we're maybe done by 1 a.m. We get to the weekend before Halloween because, contrary to popular belief, it is not Halloween night that is the busiest night, but the weekend before.
Well, yeah, because you got other plans Halloween night.
Yeah, it's a weeknight. That's Halloween night. We'll see how next year goes when Halloween unfortunately ends up on a Saturday.
Oh, ouch.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But it's the weekend before. We call that Hell Night, specifically that Saturday. We call that Hell Night for a reason. It's our busiest night of the year. We literally wrap the line around the building. And if you look up an aerial view of Netherworld, you can see how big the building itself is. And I can point to you exactly on that webpage where the line stopped.
Right.
And where it weaved. And from where I had to manage the line, it was easily a 3.5 to 4 hour wait.
Oh my
from
gosh.
that point.
And people will stand there and wait.
And people will stand there. Now, I do, for the sake of themselves and the sake of my sanity and my actor's sanity, I tell them, hey, your ticket you bought tonight is good for any other night of the week.
Right.
Because you paid the more expensive cost for it. And so last year on Hell Night, I didn't get home until, and this is partially my own fault because I had to have food. We were done at about 3:20 in the morning. I went to Waffle House because I was hungry. And that's what you do at 3 in the morning here in Georgia in the Southeast. And I wasn't drunk. No, I was just hungry. I was hungry and thirsty and tired. By the time we were done at Waffle House, and there's a Waffle House that's not even half a mile from my apartment, it was maybe 4:30 in the morning by the time I got home.
Wow.
It was literally a get home, shower, pass out, repeat.
Right.
But that's not the typical night. Most of the nights, we run till about 11, 10:30, and we're done by about midnight or so. But
cool. So we were talking that they have different areas and you have different roles there. Some are actors, some are set designers, some are costumers, some do this and that and the other thing. What do you do?
Specifically, I am on what's known as the ops team. You can call it the operations team. We don't ever call it the operations team. We call it ops.
Okay.
I am one of the least scary things that you will see all night long. I tell customers this even after they jump about 2.5 feet and meet with me walking behind them with nothing but a sweet broom and a bucket. What I do, and specifically the team I work with, is we are the ones that are in charge of maintaining the lines. We help guest park. We do, obviously, the trash sweep and the trash pickup and the trash throw out. We are the ones that will... Other people will be on the radio, but we'll be the ones walking around in the neon runner's vest with the flashy red lights as the least scary Christmas tree you're going to see all night long. And we will answer the questions. We answer as I like to call them. If people say there's no such thing as a dumb question, I beg to differ. I will be standing directly under a sign that points directly to where the restrooms are or the second house. And people will ask me, hey, where's the restroom or where's the second house? And I'll just kind of look up.
Yeah. And
I'll kind of just point. And I will point. I'll point up to the sign, and I will point the direction they want to go. But as the other roles, most of the people there, they are actors. They are the ones that they are the bread and butter of the house. They are the ones that are in the latex masks. They are in the foam masks. They are wearing the blackout makeup. They're the ones that are really going all night long. And each group has their own difficulties. We're outside. We're dealing with patrons. So if it's raining, I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm not inside the house nice and dry and sweating my face off. I'm outside getting rained on and getting wet and slightly miserable. Now, the plus side of that is there's probably less people in the line, so I don't have to deal with them.
And this October, it might be good because it's going to be 80 freaking degrees outside, so a little rain wouldn't hurt.
But then there's, obviously there's the ticket booth workers, there's the info booth workers, there's a small team that does the food truck and all of that. So everyone does, different things, and some people pull double duty. Some people will be.
He said duty.
Yeah, I did say duty. Some people will be, they'll be actors, but they'll also be on the stunt team because stunt team does both. There'll be people that they're build crew during the day, but when the lights go down, they're an actor in the house. They're a lead in the house. So there are a couple of people that work on ops that are also actors, and it's just kind of I can't work in the house tonight. They'll tell casting, it's like, can I go do something else? Or they want to be there. They're scheduled to be there, but something's come up. They've pulled an injury because injuries do happen in the industry, and so they'll get put on ops. Usually at a lighter spot on ops. They won't be in one of the heavy duty spots. That's one of the reasons, they keep me around is I'm 6 foot tall, almost 300 pounds. you want a guy who can yell and is basically on the brute squad, essentially.
Yeah.
Obviously, with ops, there's a huge level of customer service and customer facing, because we're dealing directly with customers, and customers who have been in line 3 hours, they're getting irate. There's the ones that slip in the alcohol even though you're not supposed to, and that's literally stated.
Yeah.
No drinking. Nobody listens to the rules, right?
No.
So we're the ones that there's the guys that come in drunk, they're inebriated. There's the ones that do other illicit substances, because apparently we can't go through a haunted house in a solid, sober state of mind. Go figure.
Yeah.
So, and another one of the things we do is we all, with the radios, is we liaison with, hey, I need an officer over here. Got a guy who's being belligerent, or I need a medic over here. Someone's done something and cut themselves. And luckily, we don't normally have to involve them, but there's always the story. There's always the story of patrons that have gotten unruly, patrons who have decided that the flight response of theirs is going to result in a fight. And I've had people escorted off the premises. 2 years ago, we've had ambulances called in because patrons literally couldn't control their response, and quite frankly, it wasn't. You shouldn't have been here, but
right.
We don't like having to do that. We don't like having to have people drop out because of that, but it happens.
It's rare, probably.
It's last year we didn't have a whole lot of it. It was just that weird year where we had an ambulance called like twice. Once because of a technical failure on a piece of equipment that one of our stunts involves kind of just dropping forward, and you're held basically by a seatbelt, and something happened with the seatbelt that the person basically seatbelt fell.
Oh,
yeah.
And so that's not a problem. But the other one was the one kind of the I'm going to have to ask you to leave, sir, and Mr. Officer here will escort you off the premises. And that actually caused a reaction in one of our actors to have a schizophrenic episode.
Wow.
They had epilepsy. I'm sorry, and it did trigger it, and they did have to be taken in the ambulance to the hospital for reasons. That doesn't happen often.
No.
But it is one of the it's. Being a haunt actor is, there are inherent dangers. Everyone's like, oh, I can do that. It's like, okay, let's see you come do it for a weekend for 5-6 hours on your feet in a dark room, wearing maybe 5 pounds, depending on what your character is, and the mask. You can't breathe the greatest because you got the fog machine and the mask. And let's see you come do it for a week, and tell me what you think after a weekend.
Well,
So-
you're seeing hundreds of people a night, really.
Yeah.
I mean, tons.
Yeah,
There's gonna be a variety of different things
triggers.
that happen.
There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of triggers, and the whole point, in my opinion, of a haunted attraction is to trigger people. And the actors that are there, even though they realize that it's fake and they know that they still have triggers.
Yeah.
And that can happen. Now, that leads me to a question that I specifically wanted to ask you. And I know you're not in the house
Not anymore, no.
during the event, but do you have, what's the most remarkable reaction you've ever seen for whatever reason, whether it be funny or sad or scary? What's the most remarkable reaction?
Most of mine are like the story I said, where the person decided that I'm gonna punch the actor rather than not go through the house. But
Yeah.
one that was actually told to me because my wife also works at Netherworld. She is a lead inside the house, and she went through with a friend of hers, not working that night. She took the night off, and they wanted to go through because they also know one of the people that works in the costuming department. And we've known her for a while, and literally they went in, and it was described to me as the following. This is the very beginning of the house at the old location. And if you have been to the old location, when you first come in, there's what essentially looks like the Big Daddy from BioShock. For the listeners who have listening, it is basically a old-timey looking giant submarine with a drill arm, and it's literally called Big Daddy. The around the bend is then kind of a dragon that's triggered by a plate. And before they even get past all of that, this dude's girlfriend apparently has dropped to her knees, hanging on to this dude's ankles, and he is just dragging her through this first house. Not even they're barely in the house at this point.
Right.
And she is screaming, I don't wanna. And to me, I just busted out laughing when I was told this story.
It's like you're right the door. You could turn around and
right,
run out.
You're right there. But for that I've experienced myself personally is, again, I mentioned I am the least scary thing you are about to see tonight. I am just doing my job today, just going around with a mop and like with a broom and a pan, because people, they're standing in line. They're allowed to get food and everything while in line, but we try and space the trash cans as best you are. But you go to any amusement park, there's trash everywhere.
Sure,
there's trash everywhere at Netherworld. Like we try. It's like, I literally can't put this trash can any closer to you.
Right.
You couldn't wait another like 2 feet.
Everybody gets their own trash can.
Just drop it. Just drop it there and look. I was going through just kind of sweeping up, and this one woman literally jumps like a foot. Like she jumps, grabs her friends. Her friends are dying laughing, and I kind of just look at her and say, "Ma'am, I am about the least scary thing you're about to see tonight." And I get her again about 3 lines later, because our lines are switchback lines. So they're going down one way, they come back another way. They go down one way, come back another way. And I get her once earlier in the line. Like, I don't intend to. We're not supposed to be scary on ops.
You're just cleaning trash.
I'm just trying to clean up, because I start early, so I'm not there later in the night. Sure, I get maybe an extra hour's worth of pay, but that's not worth it. I don't want to do it because I'm tired already. We all want to get done. And she goes like down 3 more rows. I kind of walk away, go do something else. I come back, and she jumps again.
She jumped again.
She jumps again. It's like, it's me again.
It's me
really,
again.
honey? It's me. You just jumped twice at the flashing Christmas tree.
Right. I'm a 6-foot man wearing a vest.
I'm a 6 foot tall dude wearing a vest, a camelback, and a hat.
Yeah, that's not frightening.
And you're screaming at me. Meanwhile, I just kind of sit there and wait. And I just kind of point to the collector, because I'm friends with all the lot monsters, because, obviously I see them all night. They're in costume. They're suffering worse than me, because they're in stuff. And I'm just kind of like, see that one right there?
Get her.
Go.
Get her.
And literally, they'll come up and just go against the rails, against where because part of our lines now are metal. And then we have these special gloves that we call clack gloves, which are literally metal tips on the fingertips. Clack, 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 clack. But we can run them against the rails. And literally it's just, and it's great.
It's great.
It's great.
It's good times.
It's really good, particularly when people are like, come screaming to me, save me, save me. It's like, you really think I'm going to save you? I work with these dudes.
I work here.
I
told him to do that.
I told him to go after you. I don't tell them that. But it's usually kind of just like, I'm just like, that one.
Yeah.
That one right there.
That's fun.
And then we have our besides that is our fun. Last year we one of our lot monsters, we called him Reaper. He's this about 6.5 foot, like it's a puppet basically. It's a puppet harness that sits on top of you, and it extends up. It's the red lights. It has the mouth and everything, and it runs after people. But it's our last night of the season last year, and we decided, we had been joking about this all season, that what if we put him on ops? What if we just put Reaper on ops? Give him the vest, give him one of the little sticks that we direct flow of traffic, because with the new setup, we usually direct people out of the first house down towards the second house, just to clear the area, so it's not bunched up. And we just thought, what if we put him in a costume? What if we put him in the ops uniform? And we did just that. We literally, the last 30 minutes of the night, we put the vest on the outfit, figured out getting it rigged, because again, this once you're wearing it, the person wearing it plus the puppet is about 6.5, 7 feet tall, because it's big.
Okay.
And we have one that's bigger than that, actually, in height wise. It's a wind hazard, which is why we don't use it very often, and not a whole lot of people can lift and carry that for long periods of time.
Sure.
So we figured it out. We gave him the thing, and we just had him go in there with the light, just directing people. And occasionally he'd open his mouth and go raw, because it's the sound it makes. And we just kind of directed him. We took photos and we put it up on our worker Facebook page. Like, meet the new guy on ops tonight, guys.
Yeah,
and it was great.
That's awesome. That sounds like fun. So I have another question for you along the same lines. What would you say is the worst? I don't want to get too dark here, but like, have you ever had to like save somebody out of there who just lost it completely and couldn't move?
Not me personally, but it does happen, and that's why we have leads for the actors. The leads are responsible for making sure the actors get their break, get their 10, 15-minute break, make sure they outwater, make sure, if something happens to them that, that gets on the radio, we take care of it, because we take care of our actors. But they're also, they, as well as other actors, end up being responsible for escorting people out that freeze, that just no longer could handle it. I've never had to deal with it personally, but I do know a couple of leads that have literally had to take, it's difficult because when people are in that state, even when you break character, because that's one of the biggest things, we don't want to break character, but for a situation like that, you have to.
Right.
And even then, they're so locked in the state that it's, even when you break character, like I've got the mask off, or I'm clearly not trying to scare you, they're still freaking out.
They're still freaking out.
They're still going no, and literally it's you
sad.
you have to find that conversation topic of break it, like break the illusion of I'm a person. And a lot of people realize that you're a person, but when you get to that state, it's just click.
Everything is scary.
Everything's gone.
Yeah.
So it does happen. We have to escort somebody out that has just, they can't.
Yeah.
And it's not a very common thing, at least on the nights I work.
Uh-huh.
But I have a couple of friends who are leads who have done it, and they've got their story of, this dude or this chick was just nope. And I just walk them out, break it.
And there are several escape doors, exit doors along the way.
We have to, because fire laws are a thing. And and we've actually had to have a fire alarm go off during the house one year.
Oh gosh.
And that actually wasn't a fire alarm issue. It was somebody decided that it would be funny to pull a valve for the fire extinguisher system, or the sprinkler system, that luckily didn't cause water to go anywhere, but they did it just enough that it triggered it.
Yeah,
and then
that's fun. Let's just cause a stampede.
Let's have to evacuate and then try and figure out, all right, who was where, who was actually in the house. Luckily, it hasn't happened since. But we obviously, one of the things we go through, as I mentioned, after this weekend, is we have our orientation and monster school, mostly for the new hires, but some of the older hires come back because we go over, all right, fire drill happens, where are the exits, how do we do this, how do we get patrons out, just because we go over it. So there are several cut throughs, exits, as well as cut throughs and cheats for us to be able to, sorry about that, cut throughs and exits for us to get to locations quicker.
Right.
Because obviously, we could walk through the house entirely to go for our break as a monster behind people and scare them even more. It's great, but sometimes you just
want to be done.
You want to get out.
Yeah.
You want to go to the break room. You want to get out of your hidey spot and just go
and be done.
It's your break time. It's your I need to get water. I need to sit, get off my feet. And so there are cut throughs and ways, and that way the house is built for us to get through.
That's very cool. I would love to have a daytime walkthrough just to really see it all. I know this time of year is probably not an ideal time because you're busy getting it all ready and everything. But at some point, I would love to try and do that. That would be fun.
All right, I got one more question before we kind of wrap it up. Do you believe any of it? I mean, do you believe in ghosts? Is there anything spooky, spiritual, metaphysical, scary that you think there might be something to it?
What?
I think there's something. Not necessarily, the boogeyman kind of deal. I do believe that there's something that lingers after. There's always some. I mean, I'm also a historian, so I, particularly in Civil War, and there's enough stories coming out of places like Antietam and Gettysburg that I do believe that something remains, whether or not it's evil or malicious, or it's there because it can't figure itself out. I believe there's something, but in terms of kind of the really scary stuff, not necessarily. But I'm also I work it, so
no vampires.
But let me
no
tell
zombies,
you this:
no monsters.
that part of that haunted house involves serial killers, and you're damn right. I believe in serial killers.
Well, but a lot of that
They
stuff
exist.
is it's based on
the
reality.
cannibalistic Hicks would like to meet you.
There are people who are actually vampires.
Yes.
Whether they live for eternity, I mean, that's debatable, but they'll drink blood.
They live in Wellington, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
I don't know about zombies. Witches, but the thing is, witches, the whole scary hag witches, most witches I know are nice and
Not scary and
kind of
hag-like.
cute.
Kind of cute.
Yeah, but I mean, they're usually very much into peace and very much into
Nature.
And into balance. And yeah.
I know
not
some of those
scary.
too. But I also know that they're not above using what they know to go after someone.
If
necessarily.
they're mean.
Like,
A few.
like, it's not even
always-
that they're mean. It's that they know the ability to do it, and they only reserve it for those that they deem need to have it done upon them. Most of them, yes, they're there about the protection and the betterment of themselves. But I've known a few that's just like, no, that dude, I'm cursing him.
I'm hurting him.
I wonder, and I've heard this is true. Like on Halloween night, police departments and stuff will report that people just act weird. They're stranger on Halloween night. I think it's the collective consciousness of people who are all just kind of in that whole haunted, scary thing, and
Yeah.
people act different.
People do. People act full on Halloween. That's for sure.
It's
Absolutely.
all the drugs and drinking on Halloween.
That's
Yeah.
part of it. That's part of it.
Well,
But,
so
let's wrap this up. 'cause-
Netherworld,
Yeah.
Netherworld in Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Stone Mountain.
If you're in Atlanta, it's just a drive down the street.
Yeah.
And you can go every night if you want to.
You could.
This is a big attraction. It's not
Usually
just like
rated number 1 or top 10 in some category by other haunted house associations years and years running.
and
Yeah.
haunted houses are more fun if you bring a lot of people. So
give
bring a
us-
car full.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And come out and have a good time.
Do me a favor. Tell us the websites again.
The website for the house itself is fearworld.com. And from there, you can also get to everything else. Fearworld.com is kind of the central location for everything.
Okay.
But the link specifically for the escape rooms is escapethenetherworld.com.
Okay.
On both those sites, you can find pricing as well as tickets. There are some group for a certain point, but I think after it gets so big, you want to contact. And it's all on the website that contact for large groups, because we have had bus loads actually come in before.
Nice.
And that's always oh God, what do we do? Well, they all have fast pass, thank goodness.
Yeah. They're
but
going to go through.
They're going to go through quicker. But fearworld.com is the main website for Netherworld. It has all the dates, times, buy the tickets, FAQs, and then escapethenetherworld.com is the site specifically for the escape rooms.
Cool. All
and
right.
if you're there and you're standing in line and you ask for Aaron, tell him you heard him on This Epic Disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. He won't give you anything because
No.
of it. You won't get in
He
free.
might give you a fright. He might come up behind
He
you.
might come up in his vest with his blinky light and scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Because that's fun. Just
Well-
cleaning up garbage, lady.
And we want to thank you for coming in and kind of initiating our October celebration.
Thanks
Yes.
for having me.
I mean,
Thank you.
What better way than Halloween haunted house?
Yeah.
And this is like you were there last year, and
Yes,
you were,
and the
I
year
mean,
before.
You talked about how great it was.
It was
so.
awesome last year. Yeah, especially since I had a friend visiting from out of town.
Yeah.
That was a blast. And the year before, I think, was the first year I'd ever gone.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that was fun. And I love that vortex tunnel. I do. I love that vortex tunnel.
I definitely would vomit or shit my pants. One of the two.
And then he'd have to clean it up.
I
and that's
know.
just gross.
No one wants me there for that.
No.
Well, we're having our own kind of Halloween celebration this year. What we're doing is we're doing Halloween stories, and we've gotten, I think, one Halloween story. So people have said they're going to do it. We would like some people to start, get together and put this Halloween thing together. Send us some stories.
I guess I should start on mine.
Yeah, I got to start on mine too. But so please, we're going to have I think it's Halloween week, right? We're going to do our Halloween stories.
Yeah.
It could be anything. Just make it scary, make it Halloweenish.
Make it fun.
It doesn't have to be really long. It can be, 5 minutes. It could be 2 minutes. It could be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And if it's really good, go ahead for 15. Just, make it entertaining, make it fun, make it scary.
Sure.
One thing you could do is just send us an email and say, hey, I plan on doing that.
Mm-hmm.
A few people have already done it. Or just write it and send it in, and you can send it to thisepicdisaster@gmail.com, and you can get your story read by us.
And if you don't want us to say who wrote it, we don't have to. Just to let us know.
But we like to.
Well, I like to. I like to give credit where
Yeah,
credit's
why do you
due.
want to spend that much time writing something that you don't get credit for it?
I can't
And maybe
be
we'll get
known.
Aaron to kind of help judge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not really going to do winners, are we? But
Nah.
he can kind of tell us which one
He likes
thinks
the
is
best. We'll get his opinion on which
I
story
think all
he
of mine
likes
are the best. I
You
like,
always think yours
well,
are the
I
best.
mean, I just.
Let's talk about this beer.
Okay.
So, Brewers Bridge.
Wait a minute.
Size and
Hold
ale.
on. I'm feeling it. This is the two of clubs. Right here. I'm cutting the deck of cards.
You're not psychic.
Two of clubs.
He's wrong. It's the 2 of spades.
Wow. I was close, though.
only because it's one of the black ones and it's a 2.
Well, it looks like clubs.
You got 2 out of 3.
But I mean, but sometimes psychic abilities, it's a little fuzzy, but that's pretty close. So there you go. All right. Now, what were you going to go say? You were saying something about the
beer.
Beer.
This is what you meant by we say, let's wrap it up. And yeah. Okay. So it's 6.1% alcohol, and it is brewed somewhere. I'm not going to be able to tell you.
We don't know.
South Carolina. That's where it is. It's in South Carolina.
So was last week's.
And so I like it, but it's not I've had better.
Yeah.
I will tell you that in my personal opinion, and I'm going to say this out loud, it's not worth what I paid for it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Well, it's got a very impressive, almost wine-like bottle. I mean, it kind of looks fancy, but it does, you're right. It kind of just tastes, to me, it just tastes like regular beer.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to know what I paid for it, I will say it out loud.
Okay.
For 4 bottles, and these this is 11.2.
About a 12 ounce.
Yeah. Less than 12 ounce bottles. For 4 of them, I paid $15.
Oh, that's too much.
Yeah.
Especially for this.
Yeah.
Well, some people might like it. I find that it wasn't my favorite. I'm going to rate it a 2.5.
Okay, so you're going to give it a 2.5.
Yes.
I am probably going to go ahead and give it a 2.25.
Okay.
Because I like to be different. I like to be different.
Aaron, what do you think?
Oh, well,
Aaron gets to rate it too.
Yeah. As I type this into the actual spreadsheet for these two, actually, it's not terrible.
No.
It's definitely a saison. Has that bit of a hop to it.
Yep.
A little bit of the sour to it because that's what saisons typically lean towards, sours.
It's not as sour as I'd like.
No,
it.
it's not as sour as an American wild or an actual sour would be because those are specifically crafted to be sours. And the reason you're probably paying $15 for this is it's 2 breweries combined.
Exactly. They both have to make their money.
It's 2 breweries and probably a limited run, so we're gonna charge a little bit more because it's small batch. I don't mind it too bad. I'll probably give it about a 3.
3?
Okay.
Middle of the road-ish.
I think I just spit on everybody.
I've been doing that a lot. What I find about the beer is like when I'm drinking it, you're right, it is hoppy, and I start thinking, oh, there's some bitter, and I feel like it's going to go bitter, and it doesn't get any more bitter than that. So it's kind of it sort of fools my taste because I'm used to a lot of beers that taste like this, and you drink it and you start detecting that bitter, and then it goes really, really bitter. But this just kind of, the bitterness that's in your mouth immediately, it just kind of stays. It doesn't get more bitter, and I like that because I don't like bitter beers that much.
So let me ask you this: when you had your first drink, you said it tasted like pennies. Did that flavor last through the beer?
That kind of I don't know what metallic
coppery.
Taste. Yeah. I kind of feel that, and sometimes I call it grapefruit, that kind of grapefruity, kind of acidic kind of thing. But this has that sort of, I don't know, sort of metallic taste to it.
It's probably the rye.
Yeah. Apparently, pennies taste like grapefruits, is what you're saying.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
We've learned something here tonight, children.
Yeah.
So pennies and grapefruits made from the same thing.
Okay. Well, we should probably consider shutting it down. Anything you'd like to add, Jax?
No, just, come see Netherworld, particularly if you're listening. I will recommend always come early in the season rather than later, and earlier in the night rather than later in the night. I know everyone's like, oh, but it's not dark enough. It's like, how much do you want to be sitting in line?
Yeah.
But definitely check us out. Come see the Night of the Gorgon and Cold Blooded and get your fright on.
Definitely do. And I
Yay.
just remembered, I'm glad that I didn't forget this. The other Halloween thing is Cheri and I are going to be in the Little 5 Points Parade.
We are.
In Atlanta. And if you're from Atlanta, I don't have to explain what that is. If you're not from Atlanta and you live close by, drive because it's worth it. It's one of the best Halloween parades. You watch the parade, and then there's a street party. It goes on for a long time.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in the parade. We're going to be giving out stickers, but we're still trying to figure out what to dress. We don't know what costume to do.
Not a clue.
And we're totally fine with people. We're kind of hoping for some suggestions for some costumes. So
Please,
if you have any suggestions for us, the parade is in, 2-3 weeks?
3 weeks.
Yeah, so we need a quick suggestion. And you can send that also to thisepicdisaster@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter.
All the things.
All those kind of things. We probably are on Facebook a lot more than anything else.
Yeah.
So you can send us some suggestions on Facebook as well.
please do. But let's wrap it up now. Let's say thank you for listening because I have to pee really bad.
No, it's all about you.
It's all about my bladder and your floor.
Suddenly I'm remembering a time when I was 5 and I went trick-or-treating and there was a haunted house.
I'll let you guys wrap this up.
All right, bye.
This is a Violet Jester Media podcast.